This is a Talk2Jack podcast with UnkuJack, exploring topics on heart, mind, soul, and the human experience. Let's talk. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Talk2Jack podcast. I'm your host, UnkuJack, and I'm here with another thought. So, I spent a little bit of time, not a lot, but a little bit of time on social media. And I've watched over the past couple of decades how things have kind of evolved. Back in the day, people had to be in your direct circle of influence to know you. There was something called 6 degrees of separation, where you knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and you may end up having someone who knows that person, and that is how the circle links back to you. But you had to know someone, right? In that age, the traffic of information flow between the world and us was one way, right? So we were receiving. We sat there in our houses. We watched movies. We watched news. We read the newspaper. We read novels. We listened to the radio. We listened to music. And those things were one-way traffic. You had an artist who did whatever they did, and then we listened, and we got this vibe. You had an actor who did what he or she did, and you enjoyed it, and that was it. You spoke to your friends about it. But I mean, the chances of you sending a message to the actor, you could write a letter and send it to the production company or something and hope that the actor would see it. Chances of that were pretty slim, right? Your governor said a few things you didn't like, you could write to the state house and complain. You could show up at the gate. You probably wouldn't get in, but you could show up anyway. And the traffic was mostly one way. And that's the point. The social media changed all of that. Social media created a platform where the traffic is two ways. A celebrity could post a comment or a picture or something on their page, and anybody and everybody would not only have access to it, but they could also post comments and their opinions. And these celebrities are on social media as well, looking and seeing that the ground was a bit more level. They can see these things and be influenced by it. Production companies can read these messages and go, ooh, this is not good. We're going to cancel this show, or we're going to push the show back or forward, or we're going to change this in this show, change this character. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. The traffic switched. The influence switch. You have influencers, but in reality, the real influencers are the people who are watching, who can comment, who can say things, who use their powers either for good or for evil, because we have a lot of trolls out there as well. And so what happened is that the dynamic shifted, the power dynamic shifted away from the hands of the people who were aloof, the gods in the sky, the gods of Mount Olympus, who were sitting up there and determining the fate of humanity. They do what they like and act as they like. And all the poor lowly people down below could do was pray in supplication to the gods to save us and to help us, please. Oh, dear mighty Zeus, don't strike us down with your lightning bolt. And now that's a little bit different. Some guy on the street can yell out something up to the sky, and Zeus is shaking like, oh, gosh, I goofed. I need to do something different. And it's been interesting to see how that power dynamic has changed and how it's shifted. There wasn't a feeling back then that the masses had any influence over a celebrity, over a public official, over somebody who was popular. Even though in reality, they'd always had the power. If somebody made a movie and nobody went to see it, it would bust. Studios would waste money. They would crumble. They would shake. They wouldn't earn any money. Actors would not be known. They would not be celebrities. They wouldn't make a shit ton of money. And so without you and I, the masses, the people every day who go to watch these movies, who listen to this music, who buy these products, We're the ones who had the power all along. But because of the way the information flowed one way, the traffic flowed one way, we never really thought about it that way. We just worshipped and idolized these people, and we lift them up on a pedestal. And in reality, they wouldn't be who they are. They wouldn't be where they are without you or I or any of us, right? And so all of a sudden, the power dynamic has shifted. And that shift in the power dynamic is what has now led to cancel culture, where people all of a sudden say, I don't like that. I don't like what he did. And because I don't like it, you're canceled. I don't like what she said. You're canceled. I don't like the way he looked. He's canceled. I don't like his state of mind about this topic. Canceled. And so all of a sudden the power dynamic has shifted. Whereas it was in the past, these big organizations, conglomerates, celebrities, power brokers, politicians, people of influence, determining the outcomes. Now you have the masses in their own way, kind of pushing their own narrative and determining the outcomes, wielding this power. And as with all things that have to do with power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so what has started to happen is that people are now beginning to use and abuse this power. People cancel people just because they can. And if you have the right platform, and if you have the right tone and the right voice, and you have the right amount of followers, you can trigger a movement to cancel anybody you want, just because you personally don't like that person, and because people generally will follow if they're led, if they like your tone, if they like your image, if they like your persona. And so people are wielding that power. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. I don't know if it's good or bad. But it's something. What I do know is this, that a lot of people say a lot of things online now because they can. They don't care if it hurts. They don't care if it causes pain. They don't care if it distorts, if it leads people down a bad path. They don't care if it causes harm. I'm just expressing myself. I can say whatever I want to say. I have freedom of speech. And you're hurting people. You're being mean. You're being a bully. You're being rude. There are good things about it. You can edify. You can uplift. You can encourage people. But you can also really be mean and nasty. And I think it says a lot about society today, that a huge number of people online have chosen to be mean and nasty and to troll. And I think we need to take a look at ourselves before we send those messages, before we post on those boards, before we think that we're anonymous and then we're just expressing ourselves, before we're saying, oh, I don't like what this person did, so I'm going to cancel them. I think we should take a look at ourselves and remember that if we were in that position, if we were visible to that extent, there are some things in our lives that might get us canceled. And not because we intended to, not because we knew what we were doing at the time, maybe, not because we intended to hurt anyone or anything. It was just at the time we didn't know any better. Now we do. Now we wouldn't do it. Now we wouldn't say those things. Now we wouldn't act that way. But there was a time when we did because we didn't know any better. And if people had our lives under a microscope the way people have other people now under a microscope, the way celebrities, influencers, people in public office, people who are popular are, then we could find a situation where we would be canceled. And it's worth remembering that humanity is about understanding. Humanity is about love and care as well. It is about correction, yes. It is about forgiveness. It is also about helping people, not trying to destroy them because they did something wrong. And I think that as a society, as individuals first, and then collectively as a society, it would be good for us to take a breath before we post some comments, before we say hurtful things online because we feel that we're anonymous. I think it would be good if we could take a breath before we attack someone, before we cancel people, before we destroy people, just because we have the power to do so. I think if we do it simply because if the other people were in our position, they would do the same thing, then we're no better than they are. And that's something to remember. So in this age of social media, in this age of the internet and information being out there, in this age where the people have the power, then I think it behooves us to be more responsible with that power and to show those in positions of power and influence how they should be acting, not lashing out the way they have or they would have, or using this platform as a tool to sow discord and hate and unforgiveness and violence and wickedness. I think that we should use it as a platform to show love and understanding and grace and forgiveness. That's just my thought. I'm not saying that some people don't deserve to be penalized for doing wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that maybe we should all just focus more on the other thing, the love thing, the care thing, the passion thing, the forgiveness thing, the being good thing, the helping thing. And maybe if we do that, maybe if we turn that table, then this social media streets will be a better place for everyone, a safer place for everyone, a place where bad won't even thrive because good is just overwhelmingly present. It's just my thought. I hope that you found that interesting. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, everyone, be inspired. This has been the Talk2Jack podcast with UnkuJack. Tune in next time for another episode.